covering all 4 major sports in the District of Champions. It's the DC Crossover Podcast with your hosts, Mike Cerrone and Ben Simpson.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the DC Crossover, episode 125. I'm Ben Simpson. That is Mike Cerrone. Glad to have you with us as we record this on a Tuesday evening. Another show after a loss. It is definitely adding up. We're going to be talking some Manders today. I've got a new snack I want to try on the show, and to prove it to you, it has not been opened. It is not opened. It is completely sealed shut. I've not tried this yet, so I'm excited to try that later. A lot to get to. I did celebrate my birthday the
big
other
B
day.
For the big B.
Yes, that's what we said. That's what we said around here. I did. So I took Monday off from work because that was my actual birthday, and I was like, I'm just gonna chill at home.
Nice.
Play a lot of NCAA football. I had Woo Boy for lunch. Had some Outback for dinner. Little steak and lobster tail. It was overall a great food day, great relaxation day. Overall,
is that your choice?
Birthday.
Is that your choice? So when you know how back in the day, and it's still like that, I think today, we're like, your parents say, all right, it's your birthday. You get to choose wherever you want to go tonight. Like, is that the same situation that you guys have?
So I did this because I had Woo Boy for lunch. I was like, all right, I don't want anything like chicken related. And I hadn't had a steak in a while. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to order, because I was going to do delivery, right? Like, I wasn't going to go out in the rain. So I was like, and we weren't going out to dinner. So I was like, if I'm going to get delivery steak, I'm going to do it with Outback, because it's like, hey, I'm not paying a premium or anything, but it's fine. It's decent. It does the job. My go-to back in the day for birthday dinners, Famous Dave's was a spot for me. I went multiple years for birthdays that did the Famous Dave's like platter. You get the corn, the fries, the wings, the whatever. I mean, pulled pork. I mean, all the stuff. Famous Dave's, I think like a solid 3-4 years in a row was my spot for birthday.
I'll tell you right now, the most underrated dish at Famous Dave's. So the background story of me getting this dish, obviously when my parents used to get Famous Dave's as takeout, I grew up obviously over in the countryside area. I went to Potomac Falls High School, all that kind of stuff. So I was in that area, Cascades kind of section. And the funny thing about it is that one of my best friends used to work there, and he worked there for 2-3 years during high school. So he saw all the old Redskin players. That's where they used to go all the time and stuff like that after game days. So when he worked on game days, he would see. I mean, he saw. He has a funny story about Albert Hainsworth pulling in a handicap spot and like just chilling there and just parking there. He has a bunch of different, D'Angelo Hall's autograph. Obviously, they're on napkins. And he doesn't have them anymore. But it's pretty funny though. So he used to get a 50% discount at Famous Dave's, and we'd always meet up at my buddy's house, and he would come over. And we'd say, hey, I'm going to drop his name. Who cares? Yeah. Hey, Blaine, hit us up with this order. We'll give you the money when you get here. And he would just order it while he's, about to leave. And they would order it. He'd take it and 50% off right there. The All-American Burger. This thing.
All-American Burger. Okay.
Was, you should look it up right now. This thing was insane. Think about a big, fat cheeseburger that I believe they had bacon on, and then they threw, and I think the cheese was a different type of cheese too.
Right, let's see if this still exists here. That's the question.
And it had a huge pile of pork barbecue on there, and it was a huge sandwich. I mean, it was huge, and they had the steak fries with it, and it was an unbelievable experience because of the sole fact that you don't usually have like a bacon cheeseburger with a pile of pork on there and some great barbecue sauce. I mean, and it was a big burger too. Don't get me wrong.
So the only burgers
it cost like $6, something like that.
The only burgers I'm seeing on their menu right now is Dave's Famous Burger, which just has. Oh, sorry, my phone's blowing up. Which just has. There's like the Ultimate Burger that has some chopped pork and 2 strips of bacon and cheese.
That's probably it.
They probably renamed it now to Ultimate Burger. Famous Dave's, A little underrated spot, man. I mean, like, I feel like a lot of them have closed. The Sterling one obviously closed, but there is still one in Oakton.
Chantilly's closed. Yeah.
Yeah, man. There's only like one left. It's
There's
you
only
gotta make
one
the
left.
pilgrimage to Famous Dave's.
Like Blockbuster.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, it truly is. I mean, it was. There's so many of them around here at one point, but that was my birthday go-to move. Was definitely Famous
Yeah.
Dave's.
I always nowadays I go with crabs all the time.
Yeah.
Because my family loves crabs and stuff like that, and obviously my birthday's in the summer, so it's a little bit easier to get them, and it's also in season. But I had to ask because when you said the Outback, I was like, interesting choice. But
Yeah, it was not like I gotta have out. I literally like came up with it on the day. I was just like, you know what? I kind of want a steak. Where am I gonna get a steak? I'm gonna go Outback for that.
one of these episodes, we got to talk about like old nostalgic restaurants that we grew up with. Because, like I said, growing up in that area, you didn't grow up too far away from me. Obviously,
right?
We didn't know each other in high school because you went to a different high school and whatnot. But the thing about it is that you look at that area over there where Miller's is and Burton's and I like Cascades Overlook or whatever.
Don
it's called
Pablo's.
Now. Yep, Don
Remember
Pablo's.
when that one existed.
Yeah,
that was one of my family's favorites.
My family literally lived in that little area over there. We went to Don Pablo's, crossed that little bridge, that little stream to get over, which was the coolest thing. I mean, you look at it and you're like, how is this happening? It's coming out of the sewer and it's going in the lake.
It's weird that Don Pablo's didn't survive because we love Mexican food, like, is everywhere, like people love it. The other one over closer to us, our side of town that wasn't on your side of town, over in Hernan, was Tortilla Factory, was like a Mexican restaurant that like kind of the same deal, like great. We went to it a lot growing up, and then like it's gone, it disappeared. But it's like, man, but white people love Mexican food. It's like, what's going on?
And in that area, obviously, it's nostalgic because it was a Toys R Us, it was Outback, it was Don Pablo's, and that little spot across from Nova, the main campus of Nova.
Right.
And the funny thing about it is that literally those were like the two main spots. And you always had that one restaurant that was like across from Don Pablo's, which has been like 8 restaurants in the last 2 years. I mean, it's
just
been
like right on Dreysville Road before you get to Route 7 on the right, that there's a little shack that like it used to be a Pizza Hut at one point. It used to be, I mean, it's been like 10 different restaurants now. It's like a Peruvian chicken place or something. Like, it's been so many. It is funny. There's some spots where you're like, I guess this location's just cursed. It's like every like 4 years it changes. It's so weird. But I did want to hear, before we move on to other stuff, I did want to hear, I know you went to some restaurants this weekend, so let's hear a little bit about that.
So we ended up going for this weekend. We ended up going, actually, I should say late last week for the work week. We went to Longhorn because we had a gift card. I think Longhorn's a lower tier steakhouse, if you ask me.
Sure.
But that's just, I mean, when you're looking at it, I mean, let's be honest here. You know, when
you're looking at Longhorn, like
when you're looking at
a
chains,
fancy steak place, it's like, this is Outback. Longhorn.
Now, I'm not talking about like it's a Ruth Chris something like that. I'm talking about like when you look at Outback and look at what's the other one I'm thinking of?
Longhorn. I always think of like that's the place that's right by a hotel. Like if you're staying at a hotel in any like city in America, like there's likely like a Longhorn steakhouse right next to it. Exactly.
Actually, you're right on the money there because Longhorn is right there on 50, and there's like 6 hotels there. And
that's
then the one at
Dulles
Town
people
Center.
Staying at the hotel, they just walk on over to Longhorn, get drunk, walk back to your room. Sounds like a great evening to me.
So it actually kind of does. It might happen tonight now that I have a random holiday tomorrow. It's nuts. So the funny thing about it is, so we went to Longhorn, had a gift card, all that kind of stuff, and we were talking about it because they were so aggressive right in the beginning. Like, hey, you guys ready to order? And we're like, I don't even, what's your name? I don't even know who you are. Like, it's like they just ask you all these different questions.
How crowded was the place?
Not that crowded. I mean, the bar area there seems crowded. So I think it might have been Thursday. We went there, and literally the bar area there, I mean, it's a typical bar. It's not that big, but they only have like 4 high tops. So it's like, if you're not there 2 hours before the game or something like that,
right, no
then
chance.
You're screwed. So we sat in a booth kind of near the bar area, but the girl, apparently, I guess she was the bartender too, because she literally was so aggressive, so fast, where she came to the table maybe 2 or 3 times within 5 minutes.
Jeez.
And was asking us like, what drinks do you want? What drinks do you want? What drinks do you want? Are you guys ready to order dinner? And we're like, we don't even have a menu. Like, what I didn't look at it on my phone. And it's just kind of funny because you see these type of waiters and waitresses that are out there, and hats off to the service industry. I totally understand your stresses and all that kind of stuff, but relax. I mean, the restaurant wasn't that packed to the point where you had to rush us out. I mean,
right, exactly. It's too much. That's too much.
Yeah. So she was asking, she was going nuts. And then all of a sudden we finally get our drinks and stuff like that. And we get our meal delivered by a different person. And I guess it was like a runner or something like that.
Right.
They gave us the meal. And the funny thing is, at a steakhouse, there should be steak sauce on the table. I don't understand how you have to sit there.
Especially a place like Longhorn. Like, I get they're not being steak sauce at, like, Ruth Chris, like we were talking about, like a fancy place where they, like, the steak's so good quality you don't even need any sauce. But at, like, Longhorn Steakhouse, you might need some steak sauce.
Right. Yeah. And my steak, I ordered a medium rare, and that thing looked like it just got shot in the back. I mean, it was, it literally looked like, I mean, they threw it on the grill for a second. Oof. I mean, it was funny too, because the runner gave us the food and she didn't return for at least 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's what it is. They get aggressive at the front, and then you never see them again.
20 minutes. Because me and Jess were like, it'd be nice to have some steak sauce here at Longhorn and Steakhouse.
Yeah.
And we ate all of our sides. And by that time, I said, screw it. I'm just eating the steak. Yeah. So Jess said, so she basically had like a steak in the ground. She was like, I'm holding out. And she held out until that damn waitress came back and said, is everything good over here? She's like, I like some steak sauce, please. It's like, are you serious? Like, come on now. Yeah. So the whole entire Longhorn thing was one thing. But then we went to a restaurant, which I'm not going to drop names because, I mean, obviously I could drop Longhorn because that was, who cares?
Right.
This other restaurant we actually really like. It's in Reston. And the initials are RT. I'm going to keep saying it. And,
not hard to figure it out if you're an internet sleuth.
Right.
But yeah, go ahead.
And we go there. And like I said, it's one of our favorites. It's a pretty good restaurant. It's close by. It's not bad. So they have some good, for some reason, I think they not lower their menu, but like shorten their menu, because I don't remember any of those entrees that I had before. And by the way, I did get the chicken sandwich. Apparently I'm on a chicken sandwich.
I've got a chicken sandwich at the place you're talking about.
Yeah.
RT.
I've had RT. I've had the chicken sandwiches now. I guess I'm on a chicken sandwich like craze with the wings as well. Because I don't know. I'm getting that everywhere now. So it looked appealing. So I ordered it or whatever. But we got drinks and stuff and all that kind of whatnot. And the problem is there must have been six or seven people that asked us if we were good. And they were asking if we were good every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's like, and the funny thing was, like I said, it was like a manager and then like a co-manager and then the original waitress and then the food runner and then someone else. It's like there were so many people, and restaurant wasn't like, it wasn't, hustling and bustling or whatever. It wasn't like it was so packed to the point where like, everyone's trying to help everyone. Like, I feel like everyone was just bored because like you literally had this a food runner coming over and asking if our food or if this is okay or if that's okay. And the funny thing about it is that, so she orders a drink and the drink comes, and then she orders a different drink on the second thing to kind of finish out the night or whatever. And the second drink, they brought the same one as the last time, but she ordered a different drink, but it was a different person that brought it. And we're like, who is taking the orders?
Too much confusion.
It was because
then also
nuts.
when it comes time to tip, you're like, who exactly am I thanking for this? Like, there's like 15 different people involved here.
It was nuts because then all of a sudden, I ordered and she said, I'm going to keep the menu for a second. Can I just get, this, whatever it was for the start. And I'll make sure I order something here in a little bit. They're like, okay. And then all of a sudden, like, I guess she went to the bathroom or something. I don't even recall them taking the menus.
Right.
And all of a sudden she was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to order anything. And it's just weird because there was no communication between the people to the point where we're literally sitting there like you said, who are we talking to here? Because this one lady kept coming over and she didn't do anything for us except ask, are we okay? Like, that's all she did. And I was like, is she the manager? Like,
she's the are you okay lady. That's her job, man.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's
the
weird.
I know exactly. What
it's overbearing
when they come around too much. My favorite is when the food gets delivered, and then they come over and ask like, "So how's everything tasting?" And you're like, "I just got it. I haven't even finished the bite I have put in my mouth yet." Like, you got to give some space, because here's the thing: like, people that are going out to dinner, it depends on how often you go out, but at the same time, it's like you're going for the experience, because like you're like, we don't want to be home. We want to be out here. We want to enjoy this restaurant, stuff like that. You gotta like ride that line of like, you don't want to leave the customer alone too long, but you also don't want to be checking in every 5 minutes asking if things are okay. It's like, I get that. I think like you got to find, and then the people, like you said, it's always weird when like the manager comes around and asks, because like it's usually somebody you have not seen yet. They're usually wearing something completely different than the staff. Like sometimes just like a guy in a collared shirt comes up to your table and he's like, how's everything going? My favorite thing is if you ever need anything and you ask them like for it, it's great, because you like make the manager of the restaurant go get you a bottle of ketchup or something. Like, like that's always a fun thing where you're like, actually we do need like some more salt, or I need a cup of honey mustard, and like suddenly the manager of this place has to go get it. That's one of my favorite.
Well, I think that honestly, when you're looking at it, you should have like a 5-10 rule. I just came up with this. So before dinner comes out, you should have a 5-minute rule where, when you're going around, you're doing your stuff, have an internal clock for every table, 5 minutes, and just reset it every single time you go there. There's a 5-minute window. You think about it, 5 minutes. If you're sitting there and talking, whatever, you can be having a couple drinks or something like that. A couple sips, I should say. And then all of a sudden your drink is a little low, and then maybe you want to. The good waiters and waitresses out there literally are the ones who, like, your cup is getting a little low, and all of a sudden they're over there in a second with a pitcher filling that bad boy back up. Like, it's like, you just know the restaurants that have that type of staff. Now, honestly, COVID and stuff like that's kind of screwed things and whatnot, and people don't want to work or whatever. But at the same time, you're looking at it and saying, I don't think I've ever had a bad experience at Texas Roadhouse. I don't think I've ever had a bad experience. Maybe once or twice at Outback, but it's like, you think about it, and you're looking at it like this and saying, obviously Longhorn is, it's Longhorn. Let's be honest here. But I mean, RT, man, they let us down. That's a sour taste in the mouth.
That's tough. And also, like, the one that always kills me, and then we'll move on, is like when you are at a place and you're ordering drinks, like you're ordering alcohol and stuff like that, and like, but they're taking forever to get you your drinks, and you're like, man, I would have ordered a couple more drinks if you guys had just brought this out quicker. It's like, you just cost yourself money by not like coming around and checking. And I'm saying like over a reasonable amount of time. Like, it's one of those things where I've had that experience plenty of times where it's like, I thought about, hey, I want to order one more beer before like I'm ready to leave. And then they take forever to get to you, and you're like, at this point, I'm ready to leave. Like, I don't need another beer at this point. And like, that's always tough, because like, man, you cost yourself some cash. Some cash money.
I mean, honestly, what we should do is
follow the 5-10 rule. Mike Cerrone.
5-10.
You wrote the book.
I never
What's
been.
What's the 10 in 5-10? Because I only heard the 5. What's the 10?
After dinner, you have about a 10-minute window. So you can't go over to their table until 10 minutes
I like
is up.
this. I like the 5-10 rule. I think we need to make a book. The 5-10 rule by Mike Cerrone.
The guy has 0 restaurant experience.
You're holding
whatsoever.
up a 5 with one hand, and then with your other hand, there's 2 hands attached to your arm, and it's a 10, and it's a 5-10 rule.
Or put it up in the break room and say, hey guys, you got to 5-10 tonight. 5-10.
This could be your future.
Huddle up.
I see a TED Talk in your future.
So I think honestly we should go in and rate. And now it's giving me the idea of going in and rating nostalgic restaurants.
That might be a draft coming up.
I
think, later this year.
If the Commanders keep sucking, then we're gonna have to do it again.
Well, we have to touch a little bit on that. So let's get into it.
We are the Commanders.
All right, so we're not going to like sit here and break down this game because this team is just such a disaster, but I did have a couple things I wanted us to discuss. So I was checking out the different blogs out there for the Commanders, and one of the ones a lot of people write for is Hogs Haven, and I was curious. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. So there seems to be a prevailing thought in the fan base right now through what I'm seeing in Twitter and what I'm seeing in the blogosphere is that the Commanders should possibly think about benching Carson Wentz for Taylor Heineke, and the reason being that the part of the whole deal with the trade with the Colts was that if Wentz starts 70% of the games this season, the Colts get the Commanders' 2023 second round pick. And if he doesn't, then they get the third round pick. So a difference between a second rounder and a third rounder is obviously huge. We know that. So there has been thoughts, and I read a blog today about it, that some people are saying bench Wentz, bring back Taylor Heineke, and get that second rounder, or keep your second rounder. I'll tell you my thoughts, but I want to hear your thoughts first on this theory here.
So this theory is not entirely moronic.
Sure, that's fair. That's fair.
Because of the sole fact that I even specifically said this, to be honest with you, last year when they acquired him. When they acquired him, I said specifically, no harm, no foul. They tried it out. Why don't you go in there with that mentality of, if we're out of the season, if the season's pretty much dead, obviously we're probably not going to win the division right now. We're 3 games back or whatever it is, for the most part, whatever the calculation is, for games behind the Eagles. But you're looking at it and saying, I mentioned this last year when they acquired him, because of the sole fact that it's, like I said, wipe your hands of it. No harm, no foul. You don't lose any more draft capital or anything like that. You don't lose too much in the trade. Then when they bench him, if they bench him and say, all right, well, sorry, man, just didn't work out. It wasn't a good fit. We'll move on, because next it's a team option, I believe, for the rest of his contract.
Right.
So when you're looking at it, if he doesn't perform and they bench him, by the Atlanta game, because if he plays in that 12th game, then they have to, do the second round pick.
Right.
So going into the Houston game, that should be the deadline. The deadline for, are we still in this realistically? Because in the past we've seen it, with the Nationals, for instance, like, oh, we can still win the division. It's like, you're 15 games behind.
Right.
No, you can't. Okay. So you're looking at it, and I said this, like I said this last year, that this should be a trial run, because the sole fact that I think a lot of us, including myself, I've said it on Twitter, I've said it on here, I'm out on this coaching staff. I'm totally out.
Well,
I mean, like I said, they brought him in to change the culture. The culture's, I don't even know what you want to say it is right now. All they did was change the name, and that was a debacle. But you're looking at it and saying, in this case, that this could be a trial run for Carson Wentz. If we don't lose that second round pick, that's great. Then we bring in a new regime, a new coach. They choose the quarterback. We have Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell right there, prime for the picking if they want to be the backups or whatever. Sam Howell, a lot of rave reviews about him. Who knows about him in the future? But you bring in a new regime, depending on our record, we might have a higher pick that we could possibly go out there and, like, now I'm not saying we're going to get Bryce Young, but I'm saying, like, there are quarterbacks out there that we can get in this year's draft coming up, that we could start with, and we start fresh. We start new. We start with a good fresh blood in there, with a quarterback, with a new coaching regime, new staff, reinvigorate this whole entire organization with a new game plan or something like that, with a younger staff, kind of like, and the funny thing is, they keep saying it. They keep saying it on all these broadcasts, like they did last night. Oh, Washington back in 2011 had Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur. It's like, okay, sweet. Just rub salt in the wound more and more and more that all these guys are head coaches, and we have Ron Riverboat Rivera. Yeah. Like, it's like, come on now. So overall, I think it's not a moronic take, because I kind of mentioned this type of scenario last year. Obviously, I had higher hopes that we would perform better this year, but at some point, you just got to throw in the towel and say, hey, we'll just throw in the towel. We'll get through the season. We'll rework some contracts, and then we'll figure out what's next, because you can't sit there and say that through 11 games, when they get to that point, say they're 4-7, you can't say, oh, we still have a shot at making the playoffs. So then you got to throw in the towel at that point.
Yeah, and look, is it a moronic take? No, and I don't think it is, but I do think having that conversation now, 4 games in, with your fourth center and Trey Turner out and all these other guys out, and Sam Cosmi now is going to be out, it seems like, for a bit, and it's like, and we talked about this last week. Obviously, offensive line is a big issue. I just think like Carson Wentz is made to be here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that Carson Wentz is going to be the scapegoat for this team losing.
He already is.
He has been, and that is what I am afraid of. Is like, yes, can we look at this logically and see at week 10, week 11, like, does it make sense to do this? Yes, I do think that is a conversation to be had. But what I'm worried about is all the fingers being pointed at Carson Wentz when they really should be focused on Ron Rivera. They should be focused on, the owners, like the president, like they should be focused on all these guys that are why this team is where they are. It's not all on Carson Wentz whatsoever. And I feel like he will be the guy that's going to be just blamed for this. And he's going to be the guy that's scapegoated. And Ron Rivera is going to get let off for this, because the most egregious thing that was happening this week, I think yesterday's quotes or Sunday's quotes, was around Ron Rivera saying this isn't going to happen overnight. And people pointing out that Ron Rivera has coached over 30 games now for this team. He's been here for 100 and whatever days, whatever it has, when you add it all up, definitely over 100 days, 1,000 days, I think it was saying. And like, you've had time to like, yeah, we understand that it doesn't happen overnight, but here's where we are right now with this team, and this team is way worse than when you first came in, it seems like. And so like I feel like there's so much more blame that can be shared amongst all these other folks than just on Carson Wentz, because does Carson Wentz hold the ball too long? Sure, that's an argument for sure. We knew that before he got here. That was a criticism against him. So it's like, you can't get mad at the guy for doing exactly what. So here's what you do. If you know Carson Wentz is a guy that holds the ball too long, bring in a better offensive line. And you know what? They didn't do that. They didn't bring a better offensive line.
They got worse.
So you're blaming the guy who does exactly what you kind of figured he was going to do. And now you're going to be like, all right, 11 games in, gone. Also, you're going to bench him for Taylor Heineke, which doesn't make any sense to me as well, because at the very least, if you want, throw Sam Howell out there, see what the kid has, and then because Taylor Heineke's not going to be a part of this future of this team for the most part. Sam Howell, it could, the likelihood is he's not going to be sticking around that long, but you might as well give him a shot. We've already seen what Taylor Heineke can do. Let Sam Howell go out there, and maybe suddenly he's zipping the ball around. You're like, hey, maybe we found a gem here.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can gain by putting Taylor Heineke out on the field, Mike.
Right. And I think nowadays, over the last week and a half or so, playing the in-division games. Now, the Detroit one, obviously you can say, hey, he threw for 337. It was the first half that killed us. The defense didn't play well that day, all that kind of stuff that we went over. But looking at Philly and Dallas, I think now, like I heard John Keim say it, and I've heard a few other people say it, saying that why aren't they calling plays that actually help this offense?
Yeah, the play calling it's not all on Carson. The play calling is terrible. Like, what are we doing?
And then, like you said, he came in with this notch in the wood that was basically, he keeps the ball way too long or whatever. Okay, and then all of a sudden they're saying, he has a great powerful arm and all this kind of stuff. And there's a couple throws that are kind of questioned every now and then and whatever, which is typical for a lot of quarterbacks. But you're looking at it and saying, okay, these certain, nicks on his resume aren't really being focused on anymore, because obviously our line sucks. Because you're looking at it and saying our offense has let in the most sacks. Now, obviously, a few of those you can put on Carson and whatever. But it just doesn't make any sense, because literally when we had Chase Roullier, and I think Chase Roullier is actually the catalyst in this whole entire ordeal. Sure. Brendan Sheriff, obviously, back in Jacksonville now because we didn't want to pay him. Eric Flowers, he's not on our team anymore, and stuff like that. But we lost pieces of our line, and then all of a sudden now Chase Roullier, who's the center, we're on our third center or whatever. And all of a sudden, we're playing Zach Martin's brother out there. It's like now we're just grasping at straws. Yeah. And when Chase Roullier went down in the Detroit game, look what's happened the last two games. We scored 18 points. So since he's been down, we haven't scored any points. We haven't had any protection. And I'm not saying he's some stud. He's not Jason Kelsey, from the Eagles and whatnot. But you're looking at it and just saying that It's embarrassing. Honestly, it's embarrassing because they're using, like you said, they're using Carson Wentz as a scapegoat. And the funny thing is everyone keeps, kind of talking about, oh, it's Carson, it's Carson, it's Carson. But you're kind of seeing the tides change just a little bit for the people that are in that building and that are getting interviewed after every single thing. And also you're seeing it in the press conferences too, just like you mentioned, that when Ron Rivera is up there saying, the pieces aren't in place all yet. We got to wait for that. It's like, dude, you've been there for 3 years.
Yeah. They're like, oh, Ron Rivera said the F word in the press conference yesterday. Did you see that? He has a lot of passion for the team because he said the F word in the press conference. It's like Ron Rivera should be saying 500 F words in the press conference with how poorly this team has been organized, how poorly they've been playing on the field, the fact that their defense is terrible, the offense has been terrible. It's like, yeah, Ron Rivera, his entire team is damaged at this point. They're all in the IR. It's like, yeah, Ron Rivera should be pretty pissed because this is now his, third season here, and he's done nothing. He's done nothing.
And that's what pisses me off is that they keep blaming Wentz, even when he's throwing over 300 yards and our defense couldn't stop a train. And then all of a sudden you're looking at Philly and Dallas, and we sucked in both of those. The play calling's been horrific.
Yeah. They say, Carson Wentz he goes through too many reads. Rivera was saying he's like, Carson gets to the third, fourth read, and maybe he should have stopped at 1 or 2 or something like that. It's like, well, maybe 1 and 2 were not open at all because it was terrible play call. Like, maybe have you thought about that? Have you even considered that maybe the reads Carson Wentz is being given are terrible, and they're
how is he going through 3 reads? So the guy has 2 seconds to throw the ball.
Well, yeah, that's the questionable thing. It's like I think he is going to be made to be the scapegoat from this coaching staff, and the fans I think are split. Like I don't think they all blame it on Carson, but I think a decent amount do, and that is my concern because it's like, look, is Carson Wentz the best top 10 quarterback in this league? No, of course not, but he's a pretty serviceable arm, especially compared to some of the other arms out there. Right. And this team should be better than they are. And this, it's not like they should be knocking down the door of division title, but they should be better than what they've been playing.
And that's the problem too, is that you're looking at the weapons that we have and everyone's like, man, why is this team not performing? Oh, I guess it's Carson Wentz. No, it's because the play calling and the offensive line sucks. The offensive line blows and they sit there and they're letting people blow by them. They're getting penalties. Last game, they had like 7 penalties as a group. It's like, it's embarrassing. And then you're also looking at Carson Wentz go out there. Yes, once in a while, he maybe overthrows somebody or whatever, but I would be scared S-list too. I'm not going to say it, so you don't have to make more work to edit it. But, he's scared out there basically because, I mean, the dude was doing a play action play. First of all, I don't know why they're doing play action when they can't even block a 3-man front.
Right.
He does play action, and Micah Parsons is literally in his dome in like a second. And it's like, and obviously Dan Orlovsky has said it before on Twitter and stuff like that. Why? And this is the thing too. Do we really know if Carson either, number one, has the ability to change plays and audible at the line, or does he even have that luxury of doing that himself? Because the problem is that when you see Micah Parsons over top of Logan Thomas was a college quarterback. Logan Thomas is now a tight end. He's not a blocking tight end. He's a pass catching tight end for the most part. So when you're looking at it, wouldn't you think a guy that has the experience that Carson Wentz has, the pedigree from that MVP season, different things of that nature, and the success for the most part that he's had in the past, he would look, first thing I should look at is DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. Where the hell are they at? Oh, yeah, they're lined up on Logan Thomas. Let me try to slide the protection that way. Like, the problem is that you're seeing the coaching staff go out there, not take any blame. And obviously, if you say that to Ron right now, Ron's going to say, "Oh, roll back the tape. I said that we need to be better." Okay, you have all control for personnel, yet your personnel sucks on the offensive line. Yeah. We lose one guy, and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose, and we suck, and we can't block a turtle. And it's like you're looking at it and kind of looking at the vast overview of this entire team and saying, we have weapons, but we can't score, mainly because the offensive line sucks and you guys can't call plays. The biggest thing is when you're calling plays in this situation, you have to adjust. We said time and time again over the last 3 years that they suck at halftime adjustments. Now, moving into quote unquote halftime, Riverboat Ron was always, said, oh, this guy takes chances. This guy goes after it, now hard nose, put on your hard hat. It's like they said that for years in Carolina and different places, stuff like that. They said that about Ron Rivera for years, even when he was playing. Took chances, and sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't, but at least he took the chance. What in the hell was that at the end of the half? We had a minute plus left with like 2 timeouts, and when
the announcers are befuddled on the broadcast, that's when because normally announcers for the games, sure, sometimes they'll call out teams when they're doing questionable things, but it doesn't usually happen that often. But when they're like, what is going on? On the broadcast, they're like, what are they doing here? I don't know what they're doing.
and the biggest thing is when they said specifically, they said, oh, I think they're worried about Dallas getting the ball back. Why are they worried about Dallas getting the ball back? We're losing. So you're worried.
You can't play defensively. Scared. Yeah, exactly.
You have your tail between your legs. I mean, you're literally sitting there like a puppy dog, not knowing where its owner is in the rain in the corner of an alley somewhere. And you're sitting there trying to figure out what the hell to do because you have a minute left. Right, and all of a sudden you have 2 timeouts and you're like, oh man, we really don't want to give Cooper Rush the ball back.
Yeah,
it's like what?
You're not handing the ball off to Patrick Mahomes here.
Yeah. It's not like it's like you're the Super Bowl. Okay, maybe it's the Super Bowl and you don't want to take a chance and screw yourself up for the second half or change momentum. Right. Literally, it's week 4. Oh, and you're playing a backup quarterback.
So ridiculous.
And the best part about it was it's like you said, the whole entire broadcast team was like that. Everyone's saying it now, and everyone's saying, oh, well, they're worried about giving the ball back to Dow. Oh, well, we had 2 timeouts and a whole entire minute and 3 seconds left.
Right.
What? You ever heard of the 2-minute drill? Don't you guys practice? And that's the coaching aspect is we suck with time management. We suck with calling timeouts. What is it with this organization where they bring in a coaching staff all the time that just doesn't know how to call timeouts correctly?
They don't know how to call timeouts
or manage time. It makes no freaking sense.
Ron Rivera can't throw a challenge flag in time a couple weeks ago. It's just a disaster, and it's embarrassing, and this fan base should be just so embarrassed of this coaching staff and this team right now. It has been rough, and speaking of embarrassing, I'm going to be playing you something in a second. I did want to here's a couple quick notes here. Brian Robinson, he'll be returning to practice tomorrow, and supposedly will be suiting up for his first NFL game. Obviously, that doesn't suddenly make this team amazing or anything, but it's just kind of cool to finally get him back. Obviously, recovering from the gunshots. Chase Young still out for now. So we may not see him for another couple weeks. This one sucks. John Dotson, possibly out now for a couple weeks. I think he came up limping in that game, and they think he's going to be out for a little bit. Sadiq Charles, as he did I think they made the adjustment in the first quarter or something. He will now start at right guard for the Commanders, and Trey Turner. Still not right because of quad injury. So there you go. Another injury. And then, Chase Rouillet, Mike, supposedly going to be having season-ending surgery. So great.
Hey, how does J.D. McKissick feel? J.D. McKissick literally turned down an offer from the Buffalo Bills and took the same offer from us. And now he's sitting there at 1-3, and the Buffalo Bills are just kicking everyone's ass. And all of a sudden, he's sitting there like, what did I do here? What was the problem here?
Yeah, big mistake. Before we move on, I did want to. So I was telling you a little bit before the show. So there was a music video that came out on YouTube a couple months ago from a group of Commanders fans, filmed in a basement in PG County, probably. And I had never heard it or seen it or anything like that. I don't think it got around too much. But recently, especially with these recent losses to division rivals. This video has been unearthed, and the song has been playing on Twitter quite a bit. And I'm not going to play you the whole song because it's like a 3-minute song. But when I tell you, I'll send you the link to the video later.
3 minutes.
Because when I tell you this, I'm just going to play a snippet. The video itself is very cringeworthy, and the song itself is very cringeworthy. So I'm going to back up a bit here, and I'm going to play you some of this.
Happy to hear it.
if I can get it to actually play on my phone. Just making sure it doesn't play an ad instead. All right.
Yeah,
I had it all queued up and ready to go. Give me 1 second here. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't understand who has the time to make a Commander song. Oh, that wasn't it, was it?
My home team, my loyalty, I'm at Uptown Royalty. We fight for all DC, who are we? I speak facts. I'm not making riddles. The Hawks open big old holes for John Riggle. Chantella's on the team, and you knew that he was smashing. Daryl Green is on the team, and you know nobody's faster. Thought you was gonna score, but I knew that he would catch her. And Doug Williams was the first black quarterbacker to win.
Just get ready. This part's coming up. That is unbelievable.
Okay.
Big dance. Got 3 rings when in the big dance. When you got Joe Gibbs, you got a good chance. Let me tell you something about some good fans. Back in the day, RFK was our palace. If you don't know, you need to ask about us. Think we're gonna lose? Well, I can't believe you doubt us. Had the whole crowd screaming out, "We love Dallas!" Those haters can't stand us. Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders. Commanders. We fight for all DC. Who are we? The Commanders.
Oh boy.
Okay,
So-
first, I'm trying to think though. So the "We Want Dallas" part was great, but I mean, it's like,
So some of the lyrics there are a little questionable, I will say, as far as like trying to make things rhyme. I mean, we're talking about like
yeah,
creating a hole for John Riggo, and like you're saying, like, you know, I assume they're talking about Riggins, obviously, but like, you know, they're saying all these things where you're kind of like, okay, this is a little cringe. And then in the video, yeah, put your left hand up in the air, like, because we're the Commanders, and then all the people, I'll send you the video, like all the people in this basement are like putting their fists up and being like, we're the Command.
was it was it home shot? Like, was it like a like?
I mean, it's a nice camera, but like that clip has been going around all over Twitter for these other fan bases right now. They're just laughing at these people and these fans. I mean, look, it's not. Is it the worst song in the world? No, we've heard worse. But and that's only just like a minute of the song. There's 2 full other minutes. I'm not even going to play today. It is like, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, all right, I know they're trying to like find a way to put the Commander's name over, and like they're trying to be like, hey, look, we can be cool with this stuff, but it's like, man, it's really not. It's just not cool. It's really not.
You should cue up the whole entire Doug Williams thing right now while I'm about to say this. And I think it's hilarious when he sits there and he says, the first black quarterback. Like, it's like, okay, dude, like you have nothing else to say about him. Like, that's all you're gonna say.
When you found out what the new team name was, what was the initial reaction?
Well, the reaction was, you know, I'm gonna hug the Commanders, you know, because that's what we are, and we got to go forward with it. And I do like the name. It got a good sound to it. Washington Commanders. So here.
I just like, it's just funny because like a song like that shouldn't be 3 minutes. It should be a quick 30 to a minute, you know, and you do throw a couple rhymes in there. There's not enough words in the dictionary to rhyme for this team. I mean,
Yeah.
It's
cringe.
This team rhymes with hit. It's something else.
Yeah, it has not been it's not been pretty, especially you do a song like that, okay, great, I applaud the effort, but it backfires on you if your team's not winning. I'll tell you that. These other fan base, especially when you're chanting about beating Dallas and then you get smoked, it's like that's not going to go over well. Before we move on to the final lap, I did have a snack I wanted to
Let's do it.
for you.
What the hell is that? I mean, it tastes like a stuffing that you'd stick in the arse end of a turkey.
Seafood crepe. Yeah, that's seafood crap.
When you take a bite of that cod, it's almost like you've got a breaded condom in your mouth.
It's like it's been left out for days and it's been attacked by cats. Dry and tasteless.
It's dry,
Dry?
How dry that is.
bland as anything.
You're just bland.
Bland. There's no seasoning in there. Everything's bland. Bland. It's bland. Pasta's bland.
I don't even think he likes the water.
I think there's a new season of Hell's Kitchen, I think, coming out here
Really?
soon. Yeah, I think I saw ads for it.
We need to have a name for you though. Like I'm the Sultan of Seltzers. We need to have
I'm
you
the Sultan of Snacks. Yeah.
Well, you got to get a hat.
I know. It's got to be. I need a hat, and it needs to be something else with an S, I think. All right.
Sorcerer
of Snacks. We are going to be sampling here. It says new here. If you are watching on YouTube, by the way, this is a teaser for those who want to check out the video version of this podcast. You got to go to YouTube. Let me check to see if our boy has
the Predators
has responded from our most recent episode where we shouted him out. Apparently not. So no, the _Predators on YouTube.
Hasn't had a shot.
I was really hoping that he would be happy with this.
He got any videos? Has he got any videos?
I
He's just a
I
commenter.
didn't see any. But if you want to check us out on YouTube, the show there, we put up the entire episode of video. So this is a new snack. It is the Cheez-It Puff'd. That's Puff''D. And this is a scorching hot cheddar flavor. So my guess is, without looking at it, that it's probably similar to those. You know how they came out with like Doritos 3D or something like that, where it's like a thicker. So here it is. So it's a thicker Cheez-It, and this is supposed to be scorching hot here. I'm gonna take a couple bites and let you know my thoughts.
So what I want to know is because that
my God.
I was going to ask a question, but I don't know that reaction. I don't know if we need the
this
question.
bag has never been opened. These are like soft. These are like they're not. I was expecting to bite in and taste the crunch. They're like soft.
It's like biting a pillow.
What the hell is this?
I was going to ask.
Disgusting.
I was going to ask you if like it was air in there and they just made it bigger.
Oh.
I
mean, like, if these were hard and crunchy, I think they'd be great. This tastes like this bag's been out in the sun for like 3 years. What the hell is up with this? I'm PO'd.
PO'd.
This bag hasn't been opened. What the hell?
I don't
I
understand.
keep eating to try to find one that's not stale.
You're running out of options.
Stale.
Wait, so it's a stale taste, or is it like it's a different type of taste where like you expected it to be like a typical Cheez-It Crunch, but then it's like a pastry.
I'd have to get another. No, it's not a pastry, but it tastes stale. Like where it kind of like is. You expect a crunch, and instead it's like soft.
Ugh, I got a chills just even thinking about it. Like you keep going after it. Keep trying to
find one that's not stale. I mean, maybe they all taste like this. I think now I have to buy another freaking bag this weekend, just to see if this is how they're supposed to be. Because if this is how they're supposed to be, this is awful.
Well, now when you think about it, when it says puffed, maybe you're thinking about it and it's, they say puff, like, oh, it's going to be softer or something like that. But
no, I hate it.
Weird. I mean, judging just by your reaction, that's ass.
So if I'm trying to think of like just purely, like, yes, there's some heat to it, not as much as that one that I had last week. So there's a little bit of heat to it. I can't even judge this thing. It tastes awful. It's awful. It's awful. I mean, I feel like if it was like I thought it would be, I think it would be good. I mean, I got to dig a little bit more.
So I'm judging that by your reaction. If you said gas or ass, it's ass.
Yeah, like, so this is what it looks like.
It looks
like it could potentially be good, but it's not.
Well, that's why when you took a bite of it and you showed it, well, that one seemed like had a little crunch to it. I mean, that's not a good sign either. Okay, yeah, keep going. Hey, do the bag thing. Do the bag thing.
Bag test. Oh, it's like chewing on plastic.
I mean, that's the go-to. You got to do the bag test.
It's like spicy plastic.
So the bag test is a no.
That's a 0.5.
What out of 100? Oh my God! That did not seem good.
I mean, I'm not even playing it up. Like, that's disgusting.
Now, it's too spicy to give to Lucy as a treat.
Oh yeah, yeah, it definitely is. This is going right in the trash. Let's hit up the final lap. Just cover some bigger stories in sports. I do have a trivia question too, which I think we do after the final lap. Anyways, here we go. Bobby Wagner. I don't know if you saw this yesterday.
I saw
that
it.
fan ran onto the field with the pink smoke and stuff, running along the sideline. Bobby Wagner just boom. I love it. I love to see that.
Well, at some point you got to say, all right, we're trying to play a game here. Like, this is our job. Like, I don't run into a McDonald's just naked. Like, it's like I'm not gonna do all that. I mean,
That's what I heard.
Somebody's workplace.
Tony La Russa officially done with the White Sox. This Tony La Russa experiment is now officially over. Which good for Chicago fans because that was awful.
Tony La Russa is old as dirt. Like, how is that guy still managing? I mean, I remember when he left the Cardinals and everyone's like, oh man, what a great career. And all of a sudden he's now resurfacing, like coming out of the grave.
So yeah, Tony La Russa is a great manager 30 years ago. Our old pal, the Philadelphia Phillies, have secured their first postseason berth in 11 years. Are we happy for them, Mike?
Does anyone care? Does anyone really care? I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, you're going to have 3 teams, and you're going to have the third best team, I guess you could say, in the NL East going to the playoffs. Who cares? They're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I think I'll be happy as long as Yankees don't win it all, Dodgers don't win it all, Mets, Braves, Phillies, like NL East teams don't win it all. It's like the only teams I'll be okay with, I guess it's like Seattle. I mean, people are always hyped for Seattle.
Sure.
Toronto, I don't hate Toronto. Orioles fans hate Toronto. I'm fine with them. If they won it all, I wouldn't be that upset. Cleveland, it's like, who cares? So it's like I feel like we're gonna hear this year that like MLB playoff ratings are like lower than they've been in.
Oh yeah,
because I just feel like there's no big. Like, I understand if you're a hardcore baseball fan, you're probably hyped for playoffs, blah, blah, blah. But nationally and, like, sports fans in general, baseball playoffs get so overshadowed by NFL, college football, basketball season starting up, NHL season starting up. Like, you have all these other things, and it's like, do I really want to spend my Friday night staying up till 1 a.m. to watch a MLB playoff game? It's like, for 4 hours, it's like, I just think that's not really the life of a sports fan anymore. I feel like people just, who wants to go dedicate that much time to a baseball game, unless it's your team.
Why don't we just root for the Guardians because they changed their name without having a whole production to do it?
Right. True. They just, And except for I wanted them to be the Spiders or whatever they were trying to be at one point.
The Spiders?
They were going to be like the Cleveland Spiders. And there was like a logo with like a spider where the baseball was like the bud of the spider, I guess. I don't know, whatever they call that. Well, whatever that fat area is.
Isn't that like a web in there?
I think that's where they store it, yeah. But I don't,
the storage sack.
It's not called the butt. It might be the storage sack. I did want to, before we get into the money line, I did have a little DC sports trivia question for you. It is actually Washington Wizards related. All right. So here is your question. So from the 2012-2013 season to the 2016-2017 season, John Wall led this team in scoring at points per game. Who led the team in scoring points per game for 2 years, 2010 through 2011 and 2012? Sorry, 2010. NBA is so annoying because it's like 2 years. So 2010-2011 season and 2011-2012 season, the same player led the team in scoring points per game, and it wasn't John Wall. And it is another hint for you. It was not Bradley Beal either.
Okay, so who led the Wizards in scoring in 11, 12, and 12 and 13?
10 and 11, and 11 and 12. I can tell you a few players on the team. Obviously not the one. Okay.
I don't need it.
Okay.
I'm an avid Wizards watcher.
Wizards watcher.
Yeah.
Any questions you want to ask?
What year did Gilbert Arenas retire? Was that 2009, I believe, possibly? Trying to think.
So I will tell you, Gilbert Arenas led the team in scoring in 09-010 season.
Right.
Or 09-10, whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, he led this team in scoring so many times that I don't even think it matters. So I'm pretty sure that might have been, even the year he left, he was leading the league or leading the team in scoring.
Right.
So these are like the 2 years. I'm trying to think.
2 years that it was not John Wall.
Okay, I have a guess.
Okay.
Was it was Swaggy?
Swaggy P, Nick Young. Yes, sir.
Young.
It was. It was. I'm glad you got that.
Yes, sir.
Swaggy P, Nick Young. He actually led the team in scoring by 0.3 points per game over John Wall that season. John Wall was right there with him.
Well, I mean, he has all those, those gifs of him literally, and it's pronounced GIF. It's not GIF.
Yeah,
GIF is a peanut butter. So he has that GIF where he throws it up from like 3-point land and like turns around and is like, hey, and all of a sudden like clanks off the backboard.
It's wild to look at. Like John Wall led the team in scoring from 2012 all the way up through 2017. And then he led the team in assists from 2010 through 2019.
Right.
And then he led the team in steals from 2010 through 2017. It's like, man, when John Wall was at his best here, he was a beast. Like, no doubt about it.
And that's the issue, is that when you're looking at John Wall coming out, he was a beast, but the problem is they didn't surround him with people that could basically, and I, how I feel about their big man status. Like, they never got a big man. So it's like they never had a dynamic duo or a tandem.
Yeah, they had Andre Blatch.
Yeah, they had Andre Blatch. Isn't he in like China now or something like
Marcin Gortat.
Oh, they did have Gortat, but Gortat wasn't like a dominant.
And then they
presence.
I feel like they didn't like each other. I think that was the whole thing.
They didn't.
Like, Wall and Gortat didn't like each other, but it was like, you guys are like one of the best pick and roll combos in the league, and it's like,
yeah,
you can't stand each other. I don't know. All right, let's hit up the money line. Sponsored by DraftKings. I am 3-5. Mike is 6-2. We've got our locks and our dogs. I will say, humble brag, had a great betting weekend, as you know, Mike. I've been bragging to you about it for days.
George Kittle, why did you do that to me last night?
Well, I was happy about it because I was playing against him in fantasy. Big blowout win for me this week. All right.
Nice.
Locks and dogs. My lock, I like the Packers -8 versus the Giants here. I know some people are a little more higher on the Giants this season, blah, blah, blah. Something in my gut is telling me Packers are going to take this one by, say, 10 points, something like that. My dog. So I like the Lions +3 against the Pats here. I think no Mac Jones, obviously.
No Brian Hoyer.
Lions been scoring a ton. They just can't stop anybody. That's the problem. It's like if the Lions could stop teams, like, they'd be the best team in football, because they, scoring wise, they're putting up 35 a game or whatever.
Top three.
They're scoring like crazy. Jared Goff his numbers are unbelievable, but they just can't. Their defense is the worst in the league. They can't stop anybody. But I like them being the dogs here against New England. I just think this is the type of game the Lions like to win. So I'm going Lions +3 against.
Imagine if the Lions had St. Brown and Swift and all that kind of stuff, and they still scored 40 or whatever it was against the Seahawks. Yeah. Seahawks defense sucks. Don't get me wrong. Without Jamal what was his name? Jamal Adams.
Yeah,
he's going with every A name. Jamal Adams. They don't have him. Obviously, he got hurt week 1. But the funny thing is, you would think that the Lions were going to have a down week. And of course, what else happens? The Jets once again royally screw my survivor pool.
They love screwing you, Mike.
I'm not buying back in. I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, smart.
So that's crazy. You're going with the Pats, who screwed my bet up because somehow their third string quarterback, who came out of Western Kentucky, somehow let them pass the Packers, or not pass them, I should say, but let them to cover the spread. But anyway, so my lock, going Commanders money line, going for it. Just because +122, not a bad output. The Titans, yes, they handed it to the Colts this past week, but in weeks prior they didn't look great.
Right.
So I also think this is a code red game. I think this is a sound the alarm type game. They have to win this game, because if you go 1-4, there is very, very, very little chance that you will make the playoffs. Mainly because of the sole fact that this team isn't right now built with a game breaker like RG3 to go on a 6-game run. And granted, I will say that, in years past, we've had some, like a John Beck or something like that who kind of led us to the playoffs. But at the same time, years past it's not the same type of division here. So you're looking at it and saying this is a sound the alarm, sound the hurricane siren. I shouldn't say hurricane right now. But yeah, but
the Florida audience is really pissed at
you. yeah, you know what I mean. But at the same time, this game has to be won. No ands or it's if buts, whatever,
or buts,
and if
spider
or
butts,
spider butts. My dog A&M plus 24. This is a huge rivalry game.
I like this pick.
Now Bama is good, but I don't think they're like the Bamas in the past. A&M for some reason. I bet on them this weekend, and they couldn't stop. I think it was Mississippi State that they were playing. So I don't know. I'm hoping that because of the rivalry factor and that A&M is not home, because I think they've struggled at home this year, that they can go into Tuscaloosa and cover at least the 24 points.
I could see this being similar to the Texas game, like where Texas was able to cover and like keep it close. And
right.
Teams, I mean, heck, teams are doing it to Georgia. What was it, Missouri and Georgia?
Yeah.
It's like, I like big spreads like this are definitely, I feel like you and I love seeing like 1 and 2 teams like facing a big spread against. I mean, A&M's no slouch, like they're decent. So I like that pick as well.
I mean, A&M's defense, what I read up on this past week when I bet on the game, I bet the under, even though the under didn't hit, because I heard that A&M, their mantra is we have to stop them and hopefully win a squeaker game because their offense isn't as good. Right. So we'll see what happens. But 24, they have to cover 24. I wish it was 24 and a half, but it's only 24.
All right, those are our money line picks, sponsored by DraftKings. That about
still waiting on that email.
Still waiting on that email, DraftKings. That about does it for another episode of the DC Crossover. Again, we'll be breaking down Titans and Commanders game next week, as well as
on the Contender.
On the Contender, listen to us live. Contender.com. No, don't listen to us live because we're not on there.
We need to take that logo off our YouTube.
That's true. I kind of like leaving it there. It's kind of
like
an homage.
Hopefully soon we'll replace it with DraftKings.
That's true. That would be nice. And then we're got to get into some hockey talk. Hockey season's almost here. We got the Whiz Kids starting up soon. The Nationals disaster season is almost done. A lot of stuff going on. DC Crossover. Follow us on Twitter at the DC Crossover and at Cerrone16. Follow the show on YouTube, iTunes, wherever. Leave reviews, rating, all that good stuff. We will
Predators.
see you next week. Yeah, shout out to _Predator, biggest fan in the biz. John Z, take us out with your sweet, sweet voice.
Johnny.
Seen it burn, screwed the Bears and in return hurt Trubisky Fields too. Now he doesn't know what to do.